What's going on, everybody? It's your boy once again, RDG Ricky, coming here live once again by my shit ass grin, because we're gonna talk a little bit of baseball. Now, for me, football season is just about over. I know it's postseason, but my team's no longer in it, so I'm looking forward. I really am looking forward to it, and I'm just really excited to see what this season brings for the whole league in general, and the 2020 Boston Redsox. And today's topic, we're going to talk about something that's quite hot right now, and that is the alleged MLB sign stealing scandal that has occurred between, apparently, the Houston Astros and the Boston Redsox. Now, there's been some stuff I've seen shared amongst media, amongst Twitter, different columnists, just ripping things apart, ripping the organizations apart, and I've seen very heavily one way or the other as far as their opinions on this matter. Now, later on, my opinion I will share. It tends to differ just quite a little bit. It's going to be a little bit different. Some people may disagree with me, and I have a feeling a lot of you will disagree with me, but just hear me out. So we'll start with the 2017 Houston Astros. The MLB is currently wrapping up that investigation. It's kind of crazy to think the creativity behind what they did. So, for the ones that may not know or do not know 100%, the 2017 Astros, they were caught stealing signs, but in a way that was kind of insane. They had allegedly, according to sources and people that knew inside knowledge of the investigation, they had dedicated cameras. Now, these cameras generally, obviously, were pointed in the direction of which player they wanted to steal signs from. Obviously the catcher, they want to steal the signs. And allegedly what they would do is they would have somebody dedicated paying attention to that camera. So when the catcher put up the sign, and obviously they had their player up to hit, he would do a distinctive banging noise, and typically it was on trash cans, according to accounts. So I was actually watching a video on that earlier, just to kind of refresh my memory on it, and it was no denying it. It occurred. I could see in a video versus the White Sox at one time where the pitcher, I can't remember who it was that was on the mound, but you could see anytime there was a changeup coming, they had a distinctive bang that went on. It was, at the time that nobody knew probably what was going on, maybe other than the players amongst themselves, the opposition against the Astros. If you're watching a broadcast, you just think that's some fan nearby, maybe the broadcast booth, that's making a lot of noise. Well, no, this was pretty distinct, and you could tell, and it's crazy to hear it back while replaying the audio. It's just kind of crazy. So, there's also the Yankees also claimed. They also claimed that they would hear whistling coming from the dugout, the Houston Astros dugout. Now that whistling, I'm not really sure what it meant, but I'm pretty sure it was just another way of them communicating to each other signs from the opposing team. Now, let's forward a little bit to what's kind of going on right now. The 2018 Boston Red Sox, right? I think what ended up happening here, the Astros got caught, and there's one common denominator between the both, and that is going to be alexcora. I'm gonna elaborate a little bit on that a little bit later, but I think what happened here was a classic case of, well, listen, you did it too. If you did it, we got in trouble doing it. What's fair is fair. You're going to go down with us. Except for the 2018 Red Sox, what they did wasn't quite on the level of what the 2017 Astros did. Now, the 2018 Red Sox, they did something on par. What they did was, and they got, in 2017 also, the Red Sox did get caught using smart watches, and that was eventually brought to be, and the MLB had corrective action versus that. Now in 2018, with the implementation of replay these last few years in baseball, so according to sources, what the Red Sox would do, the players would do, they would have, since this replay room was like literally within not very far from the home team's dugout. Now that room was supposed to be used for the managers when it came time to potentially replay, try to challenge something, to decipher if that is something the manager wanted to do. The manager would go in there, review the play, and proceed to tell the umpire what he wanted to do, or he had his associates do it, whichever way they worked the system. Now, allegedly what they would do is they would have players go in there on occasion, and listen, who's going to pay attention to that? As I said, it's right there near the dugout. So they would go in, and apparently they would zoom in on the catcher. And they would have to then, obviously, the only issue with that is you'd have to decode and try to figure out what was going on. So that is, I guess that is, you could say, the difference between that. The other thing with that is it was a system that, according to sources, once again, it was something that players said and former employees said that were there when the events occurred, that it just wasn't a system that really worked that well, especially since by then most of the league had suspicion amongst themselves. There was rumors of possible sign stealing, some advanced sign stealing, and by then the teams were just too aware of it. And as it is, you see it today. I mean, they're anal about it. You have, which is not a bad thing. I mean, sign stealing has always been an art, really, in a way. Human sign stealing without the help of electronics or any other outside sources. I mean, it's something you always have to do as a ball player. You know that when you played baseball, you wanted to make sure you had distinct signs, and if you had to change them up, because people would steal signs, and that was the thing with that. I mean, it was something that just wasn't really working, since the other teams, like I said, caught on, and they would change it frequently, so it kept you guessing. Now, with that being said, in conclusion, this is where my opinion may differ from a lot of people. You know what I think about these allegations from both teams? Big deal. Big fucking deal. Now, you may think, are you crazy? What do you mean big deal? They cheated. And that's a lot of what I said. Yeah, that's true. I'm not saying they didn't cheat. I'm not saying they didn't find a way to gain an advantage in a way that maybe other teams didn't go to that level, especially with what the 2017 Astros did. Here is my beef. Who's going to stop those teams? Let's be honest. Think about that. Who's going to stop the 2017 Astros? I mean, yeah, they may have had the advantage with the camera and this and that. And I know if I make the argument, well, you still got to go out there and execute. It's true. They still got to go out there and execute. That team was good. The thing is, that team was good enough, more than good enough, hot enough to make it happen. The 2018 Red Sox. Who in 2018 was going to stop the force that was Mookie Betts and JD Martinez in the middle of that lineup? It all came together, especially for the 2018 Red Sox. It all came together in the postseason. I was skeptical myself. I knew the offense was on fire, but the pitching was something that was subpar and that lacked all year in all facets. It just didn't work out. It wasn't very good. Now, I went into the playoffs of the 2018 Red Sox thinking, I'm hopeful. I know the offense will be there. Will the pitching show up? And I want to say it didn't start out that well for them, but once he took off and you could see the signs were there, I had a feeling they were going to be hard to beat. David Price, one that was just he was just terrible in the postseason. Didn't have any great numbers to speak of. Chris Sale did step it up. I mean, he had a pretty good season, but he stepped it up. Nathan Eovaldi, I mean, we all knew the guy, could throw heat. The guy would throw constantly over 100 miles an hour. I would have never thought that acquisition would be as huge as it was. The guy was a warrior in the postseason. See, here's the problem with pinning too much of the cheating on their success. Getting to the big dance is the first step. Playoffs. The second step is not only that, you have to get into the playoffs, and you don't want to peak before the playoffs. You want to start that ascend when you get to that dance. You know, the teams that normally have, not many times you have teams in which they may lead the league in many major statistical categories, wins being one of them. How many times do you see them exit in any sport? It's about who gets hot at what time, and hopefully it's the right time. Both teams did. The Boston Red Sox, the pitching got hot. The pitching was crucial. The pitching was big at a time in which they needed it most. Nobody was going to stop them. Nobody. I am sorry. They were balling, man. Absolutely 100% balling. So, my next statement is, can we not be or appear to be that ignorant and naive to think that every other ball club has not yet, if not yet, has not attempted or is not thinking of trying to find their own way to gain a competitive edge? That's always been there in sports, in professional sports, everywhere. Let's not pretend that doesn't exist. All right? Before we sit there and we just absolutely throw ourselves in arms, let me tell you something. This is not where I'm saying they're not wrong. Okay? This is definitely a black eye in what occurred. It's a black eye to the sport of baseball. You know, they've had a lot of issues. You know, this is, I can't say it's 100% comparable on the steroid era. It's a little bit of a different topic for another day. But it's still a way of trying to enhance the performance of the overall team, if you get my drift. So, but it's not into, I don't think it falls as extreme as, you know, the performance enhancing drugs. But let's just not pretend. You know, Yankee fans, let's not pretend. Let's not be upset. You know, let's not be upset. Oh, they freaking cheated. Come on. They've all done it. They've all done something at some point. Whether they got caught or not, maybe they just got lucky. But let me say this. The only reason I'm having this discussion with you guys today, the only reason why this is even a problem, both teams won the World Series. Now, do you think if both teams don't win the World Series, you think it's gonna matter? The narrative changes to, well, you know what? Yeah, they cheated, but how well did that do for them? They didn't win. You know, if the Red Sox are just not getting caught, man, look at the 2019 season they had. It was a disaster. Absolute disaster. Another perfect explanation, an example as to a team they never got it together all year, and they obviously didn't get it when they need to. They had a time in a stretch towards the end where they could have pulled out of it and made the playoffs. The pitching was subpar all year, and they collapsed towards the end. It just didn't work. You know, it didn't happen. So, in conclusion, overall, the 2017 Astros, they got caught. They're going to get penalized. I don't know how they're going to get penalized. I don't know what's going to come down. The 2018 Red Sox more than likely probably will be penalized. I'm not sure the severity of it. But all in all, listen, they got caught with their pants down. They got, you know what it's like? Having sex with your girlfriend, significant other, your parents' house, and your parents walk in. It's embarrassing, ain't it? Hey, that's what happened. They got caught doing the dirty. And now they're just going to have to pay the price. And us as fans, we should just accept that. Let them pay that price and move on. Bring tighter rules. I mean, I know after that 2018 season, regular season, they guarded those booths where they were manned at all times. That was the issue before they were unmanned. But now they are manned. It's time to move on for that. Once this all gets done, let's just agree to disagree, and it's time to move on. One last thing. The alexcora, he should be ashamed of himself. We should be ashamed to have him. Yeah, it happened in Houston. It happened with Boston. It is what it is. The man's going to have to pay the price, and you move on. What if the organization wants to move on for him? Fine. Let that be the organization's decision. But I feel like Cora has gotten a lot of heat from this. And while he is very guilty, let's not think, I've heard a lot of people say, well, man, the one guy brought it from one organization to another. AJ Hinch is just as guilty, if not even more guilty, as being the head coach of that organization. And when being confronted about these allegations, denied them. How come not more people are talking about that? He is just as guilty as Cora. And they were just doing something under the radar that wasn't a big deal till it got brought to light. But I think once this is all said and done, we just need to put it to rest and move forward. Thank you guys. Appreciate you for listening. I got more videos. I got more ideas. I wouldn't mind you guys if you need to hit me up, my social media pages. Give me more ideas. I would love to interact with you guys. Debating, I love debating. You guys think I'm wrong? You guys see something where you may not agree with? Hey, hit me up in the comments. I'll respond. Let's get a nice, healthy debate going. Peace, guys.